because it kind of is very direct, right? And it's kind of almost the reason why people build companies. At the end of the day, companies are about revenues, and I feel very, very important that, to address it very, very straightforward. So, any notes from you first, Ayushree? I mean, on the topic, why is it important? And then, probably I'll get on with the presentation.
Yeah. No, Jagat, I think, even when we were deciding it, I think we were talking about it, right? Ultimately, we are doing everything. We are doing so many things as a business. We build a business, we try to reach out to customers. Ultimately, customers and the revenues, every business has to sustain at the end. And the revenue is important. So, and I think while we also talk to so many of our community members, people who we work with, we try to see that the challenge somewhere lies there, how do they reach a certain revenue goal. So I think there are certain tools and techniques that people can adapt, in their day-to-day, and it might be different businesses, the nature of the business might be different, but certain things can be aligned to their businesses. And that is why I think we are here today to discuss that. And I think we're good to go and, share with whoever has joined us today and all our viewers across that, how we can, like with whatever we are building to, we call it the hybrid, like how we feel the hybrid workspace is going to change and would, help you get your revenues
Absolutely.
going and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
very well said. The color of money is the same,
Yeah.
irrespective of which business you're in. So I think
Business. Yeah.
when you look at a business or look at a balance sheet, it really doesn't matter, what's the business. End of the day,
Exactly.
it's certain fields that fill it up. And
Yeah.
I think it's really relevant today, in today's times, right? So when we look at, there's a lot of uncertainty with the Russia war, with the VCs, downturn, a lot of startups struggling to raise money.
Yeah.
I think for the past decade, we have associated startups with raising capital. That probably is something that will change now. It will be about doing revenue. And I think as a company, one of our main focus has always been about customers. And as Shashi said, I think a business does not exist without customers. And really, the customer is the defining persona who actually brings in the revenue for the company. So customers and the revenue is directly related. And today, we just uncover some of these. These are not precepts. These are not some kind of a Bible, but really this is about discovering and kind of iterating on this hybrid work model that we have seen over 2 years. What works, what doesn't work, and this is something that we speak from experience. This is not something that we get in a book and then try and translate to the community. I think this is about actionable things. I always look at the end of, let's say, 20 minutes, if you can get out of your room a little more empowered to address your startup, I think this webinar will be a success. So, keeping that in mind, I just want to share my screen, run through my presentation for today. All right. I'll present this full screen. I hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, Jagat, it is.
Okay. I'll do a few slides, then we can take some questions, and then maybe we can again, go to the remaining part. So this is hybrid theory, one of our, programs. Really, this came about after the remote work, phase where everything was remote and everybody was trying to find that sweet spot of, between the office and home. What is this hybrid all about, right? So I think before you start implementing something or before there is some practical, application, I always look at what is the theory. And I don't think there was a theory for hybrid work. So that's why we started this whole series to put together some theories, some concepts, which can then be taken actually into practice, by the companies and startups. So today's topic, how to go from 0 to 1 CR, that's Indian rupees, in 90 days. Now, many people may be beyond the 1 crore revenue mark, but I think the system, the kind of practice that we have here is something that will also go through post you do the 1 CR, right? So it's really about changing the processes, improving the processes to scale. So that's really the focus here. May seem rather, single pointed in the sense that, is business all about revenue? well, it's almost all about revenue, and with a lot of mission put together. So I think for all startups, the defining kind of metric will slowly change. People are saying profitability already, but I think profitability is a function of also revenue. And so I think revenue also is going to be equally important. You first look at the top line and then you look to optimize the bottom line. So this is really about that for startups, whether you're a small team, whether you're kind of growing. You can really look at some of these concepts and see if it works for you, right? Very quickly about Vidphone, about what we do. We say welcome to the video universe, inspired by India and building for the world. That's kind of it's not our vision or our mission. This is, I would say, something. It's like a mantra that kind of guides what we do. I think at the end of it, we're all proud Indians, and we'd love to build for the globe, right? That's really the whole idea here. Some of our products, of course, Vidphone, many people may know. We're an enterprise grade, video communications and hybrid work suite. I'll get to more of that. We have other products as well around video surveillance, around healthcare. Also, India's first, virtual presence device, the VBot. So if you get a chance to meet VBot, I suggest that you should say hi to V. And these are some of our products that we built. A little bit about our founding team. Myself, I'm the founder and CEO. Akhil, the co-founder and CTO. Of course, Ayushree, who's joined us as well, Chandni. So I think we have a wonderful, diverse team of very, very talented people, also backed by some fantastic investors from Google, from Harvard, from other organizations. We are also winners at the NIPP, the NASCOM Industry Partners Program for Telecom. We won the Emerging Unicorn Award, also won the Elevate Grant earlier this year. So we're really happy and really grateful to the whole community for being part of this journey and supporting us in this in this mission that we have. So coming to the main part of today, right? Let's look at this journey from 0 to 1. And some things may not be as pleasant. It may not be for everybody. I think today, the hard reality that I've come to realize over time, and many people would realize over their startup journey, is that the startup journey is an irrational journey, and it is not for everybody, right? In fact, if you are somebody who has always been a topper in your school, topped college from a good college, and then you worked at a big company, my suggestion is that really think hard about whether you want to be on your own. And I say this with all humility because just getting rejected many times, be it by investors, be it by customers, be it by the team, certain vendors, the ability to take rejection is not something that everybody can take very well. And in my view, that's a big differentiator between the two. Startups are hard. The statistics, as all of us know, or startup infant mortality, if we call it, anywhere between 90 to 95% of startups close in the first 3 years. Now, that's a staggering and sad statistic. Like someone said, the default state of a startup is death. And I think once we realize that, once you realize that the default state is death, you will look at the way you approach your business very, very differently. I think everybody wants to start a company and do the next, unicorn, sunicorn, and now maybe the gonicons. But I think it's very important to understand that this is a sustained journey. This is not about just starting up today and achieving some goal immediately. It's really about having some processes and some way to actually move forward. Now we look at why CR, why 1 crore. What are we looking at? Now we'd love to say $1 million ARR. I think that's very valid metric and a kind of benchmark that's used in the Valley, in the US. I think in India, and looking at many bootstrap startups out here, and my heart goes out to a lot of bootstrap startups who are probably not on the same playing field as some funded startups. And our goal is that 1 CR in India is a lot more kind of low-hanging fruit and something that startups should look at. Instead of why 1 CR, the simple question I ask many times is why not? And that's just keeping that. If you want another number, feel free to kind of change that and move ahead. Right? There is one common place that everybody shares in common, which is that all companies that do 1 CR revenue were doing 0 revenue sometime or pre-revenue. And that is something to realize. Apple and all of these wonderful companies today were all companies at one time where they were pre-revenue. So everybody's journey starts at pre-revenue, and then you move to the early revenue phase, a bit of validation with the customers, and then to, of course, sustained and some scaled revenue, right? So it's really over three big phases that we see this evolve, or revenue generation really evolves. I hope everything good till now. All the audio, the screen share, just checking.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so something that we've been talking about in India for a long time, right? In fact, not just in India, I would say the whole world for the past 10, 15 years, we've been talking about solopreneurship, gig economy. You can talk about, all of these concepts, which have really picked up in momentum over the past decade. And what we're really beginning to see today, or what's really going to make that big change, is an ecosystem of job creators versus job seekers. Right? It's about really changing this concept of a 9 to 5 job, concept of a paycheck, concept of hierarchies, concept of reporting, to really taking accountability, looking at some big goals, and really trying to build for the community. I think this mindset of being, I'd say, at some level non-selfish. I always say that a lot of times we are extremely selfish. We go to college, it's because we want to do well. Then we get a job, and then we get a salary, and all of this, and we don't think outside of ourselves many times. It's typically, and then the largest is the family. And I think the moment you start being a job creator or an entrepreneur, the first thing you start thinking about is you start thinking outside yourself. You really look to create value for, and I use that word create value in a very in a very loose way, which could be in various forms, right? It could be really about products, it could be about experiences, solving pain points, monetary, whatever it might be. So I think the mindset shift between job creators and job seekers is a really big thing to understand, because you would associate a 1 CR plus income typically with those who are probably at the better end of the, or the higher end of the work spectrum. So keeping that in mind, we should understand that it just won't happen overnight. While we might write about job creators and entrepreneurship, every publication, every organization talks about this, but there is a systemic problem, and it really comes from our education and our job cultures. We have been, of course, the British education system, which ensured that we were kind of put in a box and made to think in a particular way. I think these are some things that slowly. I'm not saying these are not important, but this is not the end of the world, right? So there is more beyond that. So while that gives you the framework or the fundamentals, there are some other things to kind of pick up in this journey. So that's, I think, a big thing to understand, the life-changing business education or startup education that one can get in the beginning that would help them avoid a lot of errors. The second is, we think of this as a nation of leaders versus a nation of followers. One of the beautiful things about our country is that leadership was actually not that celebrated. Today, we all look up to leaders, we look up to prime ministers and CEOs like these are demigods, right? And I think that's a very actually, if you look at our culture, India going back 6,000 years, 8,000 years, we don't really know of any kings who are running the whole of India. We were established republics where leadership was democratized, and it was a process. And I think that's something amazing to think about, which comes with a lot of sophistication of decades of implementing that kind of a system. So the more we think of India as a nation of leaders, I think the more we will have entrepreneurs, and I think the better overall the country is going to be. I think a big part of what makes leaders probably more rewarded, I would say, than followers, probably monetarily, many times, is the increased accountability, which leads to the increased earning. If you're a leader, if founders out here and others in leadership roles, you'll all understand that when the buck stops at you, definitely you need to be a lot more focused, and there's a lot more value on that. right, than somebody being able to pass the buck to somebody else. I think making sure the buck stops at you and you addressing that issue directly has a lot of value in the economy, which is why it gets such a disproportional payout. All right, quite simple. 1CR essentials. I'm going to talk about 5 things here, but probably we will look at them in a different light. Again, the very first thing I will start with is to question really why itself. One of my favorite speakers today, obviously, is Simon Sinek. I think a lot of you follow him. Beautiful, beautiful concept that he unleashes called, start with the why. And I think it's a great way to think of things. But why don't we think about why not? Right? If everybody just thought, why should I do it? Then probably nobody would do it. But if somebody thought, why not I do it? Then I think many more people will take the initiative. Right? So I think instead of asking, why should we do this? Let us ask, why not? And one of the first things that we see is this concept called positive motivation. Now, ever since I think all of us, gone through school and probably worked at the initial jobs, if you didn't go to school, you would not be able to write the exam. If you didn't go to office, you would get fired. If you didn't go to the meeting, you will not get the appraisal. So I think as a culture, we are trained on what I call negative motivation. If you don't do this, this will happen. And I think that mindset is also limiting. We really have to think about a new way of motivation, which is not based on fear, which is based on knowledge and maybe power. And I call that positive motivation. As an entrepreneur, as a CEO, or even as a freelancer, many times you don't have a reporting authority. You have nobody to report to. You don't have somebody to question you. But I think that also comes with a lot of pros and cons. Right? Many times you want to have some accountability system. You also want to have some improved processes to do what you do. I think positive motivation really starts with what I call the dream. And one of my favorite speakers would say, just walk in the middle of the road and tap somebody and ask, excuse me, sir, what's your dream? And most people, they would look at you and they would be they may look you up and down and say, hey man, are you okay? But most people would not have an answer for that. And I think that is shocking. If somebody can go through life, navigate through life without having some kind of a dream, I think really something is wrong with the way the system is structured. So the power of the dream is phenomenal, right? And this is really what makes you do something in this world. I don't think anybody started a company to get a appraisal or to get a hike. I think everybody started a company to make a big difference, and I think that's really the fundamental of making, whether it's 1 CR, whether it's $1 million. I think really the power of the dream is the most important. So I would always say, and I do this with our teams, I do this with other friends of mine. Very, very important to have your dream sheet, your list of dreams, your list of goals, very, very articulate and clearly written down. Without this, I think there is no point, actually going ahead. In fact, there's a study by one of the Ivy League schools which talks about the overwhelming increase in the percentage of people who complete their goals are those who actually write them down. It's as simple as that. If you can just write down your goals, your dreams, I think it's a lot. You have probably a 90% more chance than actually doing it. This is probably the simplest hack that I've ever come across in my life. The second, after the dream, I would say the most important part is commitment. The moment I say commitment, most people are like, oh, no, I don't want commitment. Well, if any of you are doing jobs, just, typical jobs, it's not a job, it's a commitment. You go to your office, not because you love your job, but it's because you want your paycheck. If you are going to school, you're not going to school, you are committed to going to school. Because if you don't go to school, then, you may not be able to write the exams, or they may call your parents or whatever. So I think this again is negative commitment. What's important is to have a positive sense of commitment to ensure that we are actually moving day to day towards our dream. And I think the commitment and dream go hand in hand. It's not enough to just set a goal and not be committed towards achieving it. You might as well not set the dream at all. The moment you set the dream, it's very, very important to commit, wholeheartedly and long term into what you do. I think this is very, very important. So the first essential, I would say, is the mindset, or I would call it, really a question of why. Instead of why don't you ask why not? And I think this is the very, very first thing that kind of sets off a bunch of triggers that makes this happen. The second one I would say is goal setting. Between a dream and a goal, there are some differences, but the dream, I would say, is more kind of moonshot thinking, more kind of transformation in the world you want to see. Goals probably are more tangible, something that you can achieve collectively. So for the company, when you look at this translate into the organization from your personal dream and commitment as a founder, you really need to think about what are your near-term, what are your short-term, and your mid-term goals. Now, people can ask me, Jagat, why are there no long-term goals there? Well, to me, mid-term is long-term, okay? And I think what we've learned in pandemic is that you should not plan anything more than 2 or 3 years in the modern age. I think the 5-year plans were great. Chaitanya, thanks for that feedback. Everybody able to hear me? All good? Anybody there? Ayushree there?
Yes, we can hear you well, Jagat. Yeah, right, it's good now. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. No worries. Yeah, maybe some internet issue. So the second part, I would really come down goal setting. What are the near, the short, and the midterm goals that we need to be achieving? And there really are 3 levels to this when you're running a business, right? As a startup, remember that you are a company. I think many times, and I've seen this, in part of the ecosystem now for over a decade, I think people confuse the word product and the word startup and company, or they really have a wrong perception on this. I would say that the product is okay, it's important, but what's more important is that you are architecting or you are building a company. And when you look at companies are not about a single product all the time. A company is really a set of products over time that makes the brand of the company. So you really need to have company-wide goals. I think everyone does this, but clearly we will be discussing some better ways probably to make that happen. Department-wise goals. Obviously, when you look at business, it's 8 things, right? As simple as that. Business is not that complicated. If you can get your head around, the 8 things probably that run business, which are marketing, sales, customer success, product, engineering, HR, finance, admin ops, and probably another one, maybe operations, right? So 8 pretty much buckets under which business the whole realm of business operates in, and very important for a founder to kind of set department-wise goals across all these 8 buckets or 8 departments. There may not be that you need to focus on all the buckets at the same time, or definitely I would prioritize sales, marketing, and probably product all the time first, but ensure that you have a good view or a bird's eye view on all of these different company and department wise goals. And I think down to the individual level, I think a big way to look at companies is to think of the word company very literally. A company is very literally the company that you hang out with or you work with, right? And the moment you think about that, you will understand that the company, especially tech companies, where we are asset light, we don't have huge go downs, factories, capex. We are really about the people who are in the company. And I think that's one of the good and bad things about our business, about the tech industry, is that it is so heavily dependent on people. We can't really replace them with machines yet. I know a lot of people are saying ChatGPT, but we'll hold that talk. So very, very important to understand that at an individual level, every person in the organization, every team member has visibility of their future, has clarity, has goal setting, aligned with the company and the department goals. In my view, this is what really builds a good sync between the individual in the team and the company. And I think it's very important for this to be aligned. from the beginning to ensure that you're on track. Now, the last point there, OKRs. So just want to know from the community, how many of you actually know of OKRs and practicing OKRs? Can I know? If anyone's in the viewers, wonderful to again have so many people. Adarsh, Chetna, Stuti, Ananya, Abhijit. Would love your views as well. OKRs, yes or no? How many of you practice OKRs? You can use the comments. You can also tell me. I'm happy to hear. But OKRs is something that people can go and Google. It's very, very easy. It's out there. Objectives and key results. Not a new concept, but I think for many startups, for many companies, this is kind of a defining way of running a successful startup or a company. And well, OKRs we have always been trying to implement in various ways. We had KPIs, we had KRAs, but I think the OKR, objectives and key results methodology, I think it was by Andy Grove of Intel who brought it in, who started, and that really, in my understanding with friends in the Valley and others, is OKRs makes Silicon Valley. It's as simple as that. Everything transcended from the Google way of doing things, really, down to OKRs and the whole way that they approach things. So if you are a company that's not incorporating at least OKRs, I think that you need to realign or you need to think about your goals. More on OKRs later, but today I would just say that one of the most important aspects in goal setting itself is the concept of OKRs. I would just take a small break. Just want to hear from the audience, hear from Ayushree and everybody else here. Some of your views on this.
Yeah. No, Jagat, I think what you spoke about OKRs, makes very good sense because I have myself, practiced and I was working with you also, right, to understand and, put together the OKRs. And I have really, we talk so much about the things we want to achieve, long-term, qualitative, quantitative, and everything. But it just helps to put it all together as OKRs. And I have seen the value of that myself, when you do that exercise, I think, because you read a lot about it, but actually when you're sitting and doing it, it just helps you put all your thoughts and focus together and go back to it maybe, weekly, monthly, iterate it as you want. But the ultimate goals are still in place. You maybe have to keep changing your KRs or, KPIs, how you want to, achieve those goals. So like you said, I would also suggest, everyone, like the companies, especially with, smaller teams, it just helps to be more, everyone on one page. Like this is a good way to, align the team and
Absolutely.
individually
I think
also.
the best way to kind of understand is actually going through the process itself.
Exactly.
Getting that, you kind of things become very straightforward. And the beauty of OKRs is that it's not, one of the in my view, what differentiates a startup from an enterprise at some level is creativity or innovation. Startups are, I would say, more artistic, more towards the zero in life, the art. And the more you become business-like, the more you become scientific, process-driven, you become more towards the one. And so there is very little imagination, very little creativity. It's very, very logical thinking. OKRs give you the best of both worlds. And that's, to me, the beauty of OKRs. The objective is never quantitative. The objective is always qualitative. Like build a better team or, improve the top line, whatever it might be. And KRs, the results, are actually quantitative. So that's, I think, the best part of OKRs is they bring together right and left brain goal setting. You can be artistic and scientific together. And that's really powerful. So that's enough on OKRs. I'm not going to sell Andy Grove anymore, but all of you should go and check out OKRs. If you don't implement them yet, I would suggest get on it ASAP. So getting back to the presentation, again, thanks so much for the viewers. Really make our time very, very worthwhile. All right. The third piece, I would say, is what we all probably love doing, team building. Okay. May not be the best time because we're talking of a time when every time we see the news, I think tens of thousands of people are getting laid off. It's a traumatic time in the tech industry. Never before has the tech industry in its history been so uncertain. It's never happened in probably 90s, 2000s, maybe the dot-com Y2K, there was a bit of issue, but nothing in the past 20 years comes close to what's happening right now. And I think this is very important to think about and address as company builders and as leaders. You need to rethink the relationship between the employee and the employer. Sorry, small typo there, pardon me. You need to rethink the relationship between the employee and the employer. And the best way for me to understand is there's only one letter that differentiates the word employer and employee. It's just an E and an R. So the employer is nothing but the set of employees. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's very important to understand, is that people are not machines. People are objects that you kind of hire and fire at will. I think over time, it's not going to be beneficial to the ecosystem in a large way. And I say that very strongly because I believe in long-term team building. I think what happens many times is wrong. What happened, for example, in the pandemic, the way tech companies hired, the kind of valuations, I'm not sure what was going on. And we were in the thick of things. Being a video communications company, you are following everything to do with price to earning ratios and what's valuation. But what happened in the tech industry past 2 years, absolutely unprecedented. People have, there has been hiring at a scale like nobody's business. And now there is firings and it's not stopped. Right? I think everybody would tell you that the worst is yet to come. And that's not very pleasant. So for team building, it's very important to realize and to rethink this whole relationship. Definitely, it starts with the concept of macro management at some level. When you look at the traditional job, you must think about the word corporate itself. As I've said before, the word corporate comes from the word corporal, which is from the army, the military, and it's regimented thinking. So I would not really say that the knowledge economy or a knowledge business is like the battlefield. It's a little different. So increased macro management, and I say that because as a country, for those of you who would understand, we have always been a country of proprietors. The Kirana shop near your house, he's a proprietor, and probably a lot of, millions of small artisans, freelance people, all of them at a large level are proprietors. Then there may be partners. You may have partnership companies, but very few understand the concept and power of the directors, the board of directors, shareholders, and understanding what a company can do. A company is one of those few things where different people with different minds can come together and work on something very, very common. And this mindset, most people think about control. They like to control their company, control their organization, control the outcomes. Increasingly in the world, you realize that not everything is in your control. And that requires a bit of learning on our side to really think about macro management. How are we able to empower people and hold them accountable? And more importantly, how can they exercise freedom with responsibility? And I think that's the fundamental nature of team building, which needs to change. It's no more a master and a kind of a reporting person relationship. It's increasingly one of communication, one of transparency, of collaborating. So very, very alien, I would say, to the modern corporate thinking, which ends at the CEO. Very, very, and that's where Web3 comes in, a lot more decentralized. But we have to think about a completely new way of building teams. Like, this is not about the teams that we built in the past who would just be with us because we offered a 10%, 20% hike. I think we need to understand that. The power to take decisions. Are they empowered to take decisions? I think these are some of the precepts, some of the concepts that are going to actually be very relevant in building that right team. Now, the next one, right? So these, I would say, are the two big ones. The first three, I would say, were just kind of, warming up basics. First of all is your mindset. Second are clearly defined goals. The third is the team to help you achieve those goals. Now, we're in the tech industry, and we need tools. And one of the critical things to understand is most of the tools that you use today are all built before the pandemic. And life after the pandemic is quite different. So we call this a hybrid toolkit, more specifically a hybrid work suite. What are the different tools we are using to address these new challenges? I think Albert Einstein said it's doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results is stupidity. Now, addressing new problems with old solutions again is stupidity. And the biggest differentiator today that I believe an organization can have is not only its product or its IP, but also the tools that are part of that team, what the team uses. So really about like materials and manpower, right? So the manpower or the woman power, is really about the people, and the tools is the materials, right? So that's the tech world for you. Let's look at the current options. Well, biggest, I would say, breakout star or breakout category past 2-3 years, what you're doing right now, webinars, video conferencing. Of course, all of us use tools like Notion, Airtable, maybe ChartMogul, other tools. So first of all, I would say list down the tools that you are actually using in your organization, and really think about what out here matters to my customer and business relationship. Most people are using conferencing, scheduled video meetings. These are wonderful in an internal context where you're talking to your team or vendors or partners. This is not the best option when it comes to the customer. The customer requires a very simple video touch point to be able to connect with the business. The customer needs different modes of communication. Sometimes I want to be live. Sometimes I just want to shoot out a recorded video. Sometimes I just want to text. A smart business goes where the business is and kind of aligns it with what the customer does. So let's think about what are these hybrid tools really that we are using today? What really have we invested in the past 2 years that's going to give us this edge? And I think Ayushree brought this up in a previous conversation, is that how small companies or startups are what we call penny wise, pound foolish. They try and save on all the small stuff and miss out on the big stuff. Let's save a bit of, a few dollars with a free subscription, and let's lose hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue. I think India, we should not be penny wise, pound foolish. We have to make those investments to move forward. And the first thing to hitting that new goal is to have new tools, is to upgrade your toolkit. These would involve a lot of customer-facing, tools, features that are suited to remote customer development and customer relationship. I think one needs to really, really think about this hybrid toolkit. Life does not end at scheduled video meeting links, nor does it end at your Google or Google Google Workspace or Microsoft Office 365. We need new tools, and the new tools will be about increasingly the customer and the business relationship. As you can see, the whole of the work suites that people use are not really aligned to the customer. All of them are for internal purpose. So revenue is really about your relationship with the customer. It's not necessarily the relationship with the team. So number 4 on this list is the hybrid toolkit. Coming to the 5th point, probably something that all of us enjoy. Who doesn't really like a good company or like, have a good time with some friends? What called power networks. Everybody knows, it's a very well-known statement. Your network is your net worth. Must be true. It must be true. Because, people also say you are very much like the 5 people you interact the most in your life. So putting this together, it's very, very simple to understand that the more revenue you want, the more pipeline you want, which means the more networking you need. It's as simple as that. So networking is proportional to the pipeline, is proportional to the revenue. I'm not saying that always meet somebody with a business focus. Again, that's something that I notice a lot. Attending a lot of events in Bangalore and around over the past a few years. Always seen that every startup founder is most important, always ready to pitch. It's like the NCC, like the cadets. We're always ready to pitch. That's not also what I'm saying. I'm not saying that every person you network with necessarily you need to drive him into that customer pipeline. Network always for network's sake. Network for making a friend, for making a connect. The business will come when it has to come. I've seen so many people get to an event and ask, is this event worth it? What's the ROI right now? I mean, it's not going to work that way. Right? I think people should do networking for networking. You do prospecting, and then you do conversion. Sorry, I just have a bad cough over the past few days. Here is a big thing that I learned probably a decade ago from one of my mentors. Always be prospecting. I think as a businessman, as somebody who is always in front of the customers, this is a skill that nobody teaches you. What is prospecting? The art and craft of building a list and curating and kind of moving that lead list into a customer list. This is the holy grail of business, prospecting. And networking and prospecting go hand in hand. You're not just there to attend social parties and just have a good time. Many times it may not give you business result immediately, but that doesn't mean that 3 months from now, somebody at that event you met yesterday will not be a customer. So always be prospecting. As an entrepreneur, as a customer-facing executive, a customer-facing leader, you always have to be prospecting because we are out here to help and create value in the world, and the world actually is just a bunch of people, right? So the more people that we know, the more we can help them. It's as simple as that. Networking is not a transactional activity. It's ongoing and to be nurtured. I think very self-explanatory. Many people look at networking, go to an event and think, can I get a deal out of this event? Well, it's not the way to think about it. In fact, nobody will talk to you. Okay, nobody will want to talk to you after a few conversations. I would always say that networking for networking's sake, networking to understand the person, to build a relationship. When they have a problem and it's to do with your business, then you will get the business. And that's the whole idea, to be top of mind for the customer when it comes to your particular category. Right? So I want to just sum this up as I come to the end of this. Just 5 points, spanning from the why or the why not at a very internal and kind of motivational level from the self. Goal setting, which goes from yourself to the company and how it translates into everybody's own goals. How all of that works together, right? How are we able to work together as a team? I think many of you know the quote of the Beatles is that individually they were quite limited musicians, one would say. Now, one might debate that, but together they were a lot better than what they were individually. What we call the sum of the parts was always greater than the individual components, individual parts. So from why to why not, goal setting, team building, then the tools to get you in front of those customers who are going to give you that money, which is the power networks. So this, in my view, I'm just summing up 5 very, very high level, I would say, must-haves, must-dos for attaining a simple revenue target. So I really thank all of you for your time. Really appreciate on Saturday evening that all of you spend time with us, and I'm able to learn as well. So thank you so much, everybody. Really enjoyed that. Over to you, Ayushree.
No, Jagat, wonderfully put together, I think. Everything that we have been talking quite often too. And I think everyone here, who had joined us and who is still here with us, and they would agree that these small things, like you were saying, I told them, I was discussing this the last time in some of the interactions with the other founders too, that it's very important to, invest in these small things, to consciously make these steps to ultimately reach a higher revenue goal, right? I mean, it's not like you can just reach 1 crore without, and 1 CR or whatever is your goal, without these small things that make up your way. Like you're saying, the team, the processes, the systems, the team, the systems, the community. These are things that ultimately would lead up. And I really liked your point about the networking part, where we need to not see beyond meeting people as just a sales pitch. It has to
In fact,
be,
definitely
I
not.
think.
In fact, networkers should never think of networking as a sales pitch.
Yes. Yeah, I
It's
think
something
I completely agree with
I've
that.
learned probably over the few years. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
yesterday
yeah.
I was happy to meet you. We were even together.
Yes,
Wonderful
yes,
place. I think HSBC.
yes.
The
Wonderful
Conrad.
event. Yeah, yeah,
You know, over the years, you realize that you meet these people again and again. It's not about
yeah.
meeting them one time and it's a go home, go big or go home. Like either you
Exactly,
do a deal with me or I don't talk to you. Life doesn't work this way.
exactly. Yeah,
And I think that's what you saw yesterday with so many of our
yeah,
friends.
yeah,
And people are here for a long time.
yeah.
People are not just going to
And
come,
that's
sign up
what
and go. So,
Yes, and that's what I think the collaboration, it might be when you meet people. It's always not about selling what you are building, or taking what they are building. There can be collaboration on so many levels, right? When you're building a community, sometimes these might be personal support systems also at some point of time. In various ways. These networks can help. So I really feel, that's and I think very consciously we have to do this, because when you're building something, you have the urge, right? The first to talk about your product. And I'm sure you have been in this industry for so long, and it has also come with experience, this learning that, so it's a conscious effort that all of us should make, to build our networks out of thinking, that we get an immediate benefit out of it. There should be
I think before you pitch, I think you must first hear. Hear before you pitch.
Listening. Yeah.
I think most startup
Yes.
founders, my name is blah, blah, blah. I do this. Do you have requirement? I'm like, I lost you when you say hello. Right?
Exactly.
Especially yesterday.
And everything you are building might not be for everyone, right? It's
and nobody
okay.
cares.
It's
The fact
exactly.
today
That's
is,
what.
I just think about a networking event. Let's think about networking, because I think all of us love networking and meeting new people.
Yeah.
We're there at 7:30 generally in a networking event.
Yes.
You're done with your day. You've just gone through horrible Bangalore traffic, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So what is your mind state?
Yeah.
So you just reach there. You're like, okay, and somebody comes there saying, "Hey, you want to buy this?" Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's the and that's true with every networking event.
True.
Right? For every physical networking event. Of course, the virtual ones, the traffic we can solve.
Yeah.
So same thing for everyone.
It's that comfort. I think so. It's that comfort, I think, in the first meeting that you just, chill down, maybe, you just make that contact, and then later you see, where it goes, how it goes, in what stage. Like you were saying, the prospecting comes much later, like however that contact turns or what happens.
The list of names is the list of fame. One of my old mentors told me it's a list. Yesterday also, I think I was discussing it with the list. And this is fundamental to any business that you do anywhere in the world.
Yes.
The list of names becomes like your list of fame. And I really, that stuck to my mind. That was a really nice quote. So, on networking, good. I think.
Yes. Maybe we can, if anyone, anyone have any questions or thoughts, anything.
Yeah, happy to take your
raise hand
as well. Not just
the raise hand is enabled. So
anyone wants to come in, feel free to come in, guys.
And
don't have to worry
thoughts.
about your home scenarios. We're all working from home. If you have kids running around, that's totally okay. And even otherwise, I think thanks, Ayushree. I think it's really important that we do more of these, simply because we enjoy doing them.
Exactly.
It also gives us a chance to think back and look at what we do. I want to actually just we enable raise hand. I think raise hand is on.
It's enabled now in case
Okay. Happy to take. I think Chetana, Abhijit, any of our wonderful viewers who want to come online, Adarsh, Ananya, please feel free to come in and say hello. I know some of you, maybe it's your first time on our shows. We'd love to know who's there.
More about what you do. Just your thoughts on what we discussed.
Just keep this open 1 or 2 minutes, and then Saturday evening. So everyone's plans, I guess. All right. So Ayushree, going further, next few sessions, and while we kind of look at not only hybrid theory, I think the mission here is very simple. It's about hybrid. I want more people who are here to spread this message with your own communities. You may not need this information right now, but remember that somebody in your network may need it. It costs you nothing to help them. So just share the links. This is not YouTube, so I wouldn't say subscribe, but share the links. And that's awesome. I think it's been a wonderful session. I really enjoyed preparing and presenting. I hope you all
it has been wonderful. And it's good to see our viewers, join us on a Saturday evening, like you were saying. So
really, really big thank you. Big thanks to all the viewers. A lot of them, some of them who I know, some of them who are new. I hope all the new people also I get to know better in the future. Thanks to Akhil, who's backstage, works to make all this happen. Thanks Ayushree also putting it together. Fantastic. I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Sure. Same to have a good weekend, Jagat, and have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.